Good morning. My name is Sophia Rodriguez. When developing an effective curriculum, who do you think has the authority to make these curriculums? In my opinion, I believe that teachers should have the role in education and developing a curriculum as they were directly placed in student involvement and instruction. The processes of China, England, South Africa, and Kenya all use curriculum development to varying extents, causing distinct differences according to distinct student performance. Curriculum developers have not set foot in a classroom since high school. Therefore, they don't have a proper knowledge on what education is because they're not directly placed with the students as much as the teachers are. First, let's talk about China. China spends about 8% of its GDP solely on education, and it clearly shows whenever it is directly correlated with about 85% of its population being fully literate, which means the ability to read and write. In China, the cultural belief is that education is placed at the top priority in order to reach academic achievement and academic success. So, this greatly shows that when China places more input on education, therefore it places more education onto their students in order for them to receive a formal education and a professional certification on the topic. Next, we have England. England is one of the most developed countries in the entire world, using about 13.2% of its GDP solely on education, which rounds to about 102 billion pounds spent on education every year. And as we can see, that directly correlates with the literacy rate being about 100% literate. This shows that England also places a strong hold on educating the kids of the future in order to receive formal certification in order to become educators of the curriculum that they are facing right now in society today. And okay, according to Lawrence Stenhouse, he says we must train teachers in order to produce a world fit for curricula to live in. He also adds that no church development without curriculum development. So technically, he directly correlates that teachers must be involved in curriculum development in order for students to succeed and not the state. And as we've noticed in the past few years, that Common Core has been placed by the state government of Florida. Teachers don't have a say. They just give a list of set standards that they should be required to teach by the governor, which the governor, I don't think he has stepped in any of our schools to see what we're actually learning and how it could fit indirectly into the subject. In contrast, here we have South Africa. South Africa only spends about 5.3% of its GDP on education. And as we can see, about 20% of South Africa's population remains illiterate. This greatly shows that these 20% of this population is not being able to receive a formal education or have professional certification in order to speak out in front of this injustice that teachers are not having input in curriculum development. So, as well, we have Kenya. Kenya spends about 7% of its GDP on education, which isn't as much as the ones from China and England. And this greatly shows that the literacy rate of sub-Saharan Africa, right as of 2015, has 35% of its population not being able to read and write. And back in 1990, about half of sub-Saharan Africa was not able to read and write. So this has greatly improved that people are being more able to read and write, but still they don't have a say in said professional certification. In conclusion, I believe that that the rate of decline relies solely on economic and social factors such as education and literacy rate. The countries that face the most decline are Kenya and South Africa, as we've noticed, and the way that we can solve this is by Kenya and South Africa may go to the United Nations and go have allies in the United Nations with industrialized countries such as USA, France, and England, in order to improve their education, in order to have a more say in the curriculum development for generations to come. What questions do you have? Thank you.
All right, 2 questions. How did you handle the differing perspectives as you conducted your research for this?
Can you repeat it one more time?
Yeah, like how did you handle the different perspective or lenses as you did your research for this?
As I did my research, since I originally started with a cultural lens, I kind of shifted over to an economic and political lens because the UN has a lot of information based on all of those perspectives, based on cultural, social, but I found the most information on my economic and political lens.
Okay, and if you had more time, what additional research would you do?
I would show that how the teachers are reacting, like to their how they observe that students are doing with these curriculum developers making the education for them. So from like a psychological perspective.